mean, Stefan, your brother's death,
Yeah.
that was part more of your adult life then,
Yeah,
you'd consider?
yeah, I was 22.
Okay. Well, and that would you say that was the first kind of big traumatic thing to have happened to you?
Yeah, through childhood, you have loads of what we call in the trade small t traumas.
Right.
As we were speaking earlier on when we were out earlier.
Yeah.
Just little things like my grandson and your nephew Caleb will experience lots of little traumas today.
Yeah.
And actually they are minor, but they do affect you.
Yeah.
And sometimes more so than somebody dying.
Right.
So at that time in my life, Steph's dying was not huge for me, as you
Really?
would imagine. If you think, the only perhaps experience that you've had big time has been your mum,
Yeah.
and it would have been nothing like that. And also, I was not, I wasn't. It was clearly much bigger for my mum losing
Yeah.
one of her children, and I don't think I appreciated that at
Really?
the time. Yeah, I was kind of wound up on my own stuff.
And were you and Steph close?
Yeah, we shared a bedroom for many years. So from that point of view, we were. But once I'd left home, I went to Cardiff to university, and 3 years later he went to Swansea, which is where he was.
Yeah.
And we didn't see each other a lot.
Right.
He did come up and visit, but no.
Did
from
that
point
grief
of view,
ever hit you then? Or was it just something that just didn't really affect you?
I don't think it did affect me that much. No.
Wow. How does that make you feel? Because that's kind of a strange thing to say, isn't it?
I don't think it is necessarily. Really? It's just there are these different personality types and attachment types, and some don't grieve massively. I've never been one to grieve much.
Yeah.
Briefly, but then it's done. So that's true for my dad or for my mum.
Yeah. What
Generally.
age were you when your dad died? Because I had only just been born, right?
Yeah,
Or, like,
so I was
around
early
that.
30s then.
Yeah, that I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you don't grieve that much, I guess. Yeah, I never really thought that there could be a personality type. I thought grief was just a universal.
No, there are, like anything else, there are these extreme ends. Some people don't grieve at all, and I'm not quite at that end. And I used to have one chap who used to come and see me who could tell me, it was 3 years and 27 days since his mum died.
Right.
That's the other extreme.
Yeah.
And there are people, and it's lovely when you get a couple who are so attached to each other. They go everywhere together. They do everything together. That they are their life. And if that's the same for 40, 50 years, the downside is if one goes first, the other one is often really stuffed. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that's that
Yeah.
way of being. That's a personality. So like all the other stuff, I didn't choose to be like that. I just didn't think, right, I'm not going to feel this. It's a programmed in your brain thing.
Yeah.
You don't
And I guess
choose
because
it.
you've learnt more and you're more of a conscious person now. How did mum's death affect you differently to how Steph's did? Obviously, there's a hell of a lot more there too.
It's a different relationship for
Yeah.
one thing. But yeah, I did definitely feel it more.
Did you?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, if you can imagine what grief feels like, I think.
I think so.
So I'm sure it was less than that, but that's the resonance you're talking about. That's the vibration you're talking about. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think grief is grief, so some people maybe don't feel it that much, but if you do feel it, yeah, it's a sadness, a loss. But some of these things are indescribable because they're a feeling.
Does mum's death still affect you now, or have you kind of dealt with it?
Mostly I don't think it does, but then that's because, as we spoke just now, I'm not a big griever, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that was it was important for us as children to see you grieve, but you're a private person.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I used to do it in the clinic first thing in the morning when
Really?
I got into work.
but you kind of give yourself time to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely.
Kind of, yeah, because I've said before that I feel like grief is kind of like exercise, and you don't really want to sit there and do it, but
Yeah.
you know it's better for you in the long run if you get it out
Yeah.
and just get it done.
Yeah, so for you, obviously, the first few weeks, months, maybe it's every minute of every day, and after that, it can just come upon you.
Yeah.
But to a certain extent, you can decide when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And program it in, and I think that's a very effective thing to do.
And that's what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long did that process take for you?
Not massively long, probably. Matter of maybe a few weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Grief's such a weird one.
And that's not a measure, because this is attachment, which is a psychological kind of phenomenon.
Yeah.
So there's the strange situation. Have you heard of that?
No.
Now, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but the strange situation is a research tool, and it's also a reproducible phenomenon. So in the first place, it was studying attachment in children. And so the scenario is you have a little room like this.
Yeah.
And a researcher, who's always female, I think, and is nice, and it's nice throughout. There's some toys to play with, and then there's a mother and child come in, and I can't remember the age of the child, but it's 2 or 3 or something. And the scenario is that the mum and the researcher will chat for a while the child plays. It's videoed, and the child also has a little heart monitor on. And then the mum will leave the room for 5 minutes, and then the mum will come back. So what happens when mum leaves the room? What happens when mum comes back? So with the securely attached child, the child's a bit distressed when mum goes, but is fairly quickly engaged with playing with the toys and then happy. Mum comes back, rushes to see her, and maybe clings on for a minute, but then quickly gets back to playing with the toys. So that's secure attachment. And the two extremes of insecure attachment, there are others. One is child just goes nuts and cries from the moment mum leaves the room till the moment she comes back, and then goes and clings and basically very reluctant to let go. And the other, of course, is the opposite extreme. Child sort of doesn't do anything when mum goes, but the little monitor's showing something.
Okay.
And then when mum comes back, again, child doesn't rush. But, so this child has learned to bottle its emotions,
Yeah.
And
Is that what you were
so
telling
that would
me
have
about
been me.
the other day, the avoidant attachment
Yeah.
style? Is that what
Yeah.
you meant?
Yeah.
And there are three different styles.
Yeah, I think there are more. There's a kind of there are some more extreme sort of mental health issue sort of insecure attachments, which are kind of where a parent has been very volatile. So sometimes there, sometimes not. Then you can get sort of mixtures
Right.
of uncertain attachment.
Yeah.
So some people will be just okay. Fine. Some people in relationship will tend to be clingy, and some people tend to be avoidant.
Yeah, I'm probably the clingy one.
Yeah.
So do you reckon attachment style affects the way you grieve?
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.